Yemen has come under fresh Saudi airstrikes amid a worsening humanitarian situation. Warplanes hit a house in Taiz province, killing 10 people from one family. It also carried out raids in Ma'arib, Sada, and Jawf provinces. Yemen has been pounded by Saudi forces on an almost daily basis since March. Military aggression and a Saudi blockade of Yemen have created a humanitarian catastrophe. The United Nations Children's Fund says that over 500,000 Yemeni youngsters are facing life-threatening malnutrition. It says the figure has tripled since the Saudi onslaught. Saab Shah is the author and Middle East expert who joins us from Belfast. Saab Shah, can you tell us what the Saudi strategy is in Yemen, please?
As you mentioned yourself about the numbers and the figures of the Yemeni kids' malnutrition, this tells the story. The Saudis are taking a kind of military steps to collectively punish the Yemeni people and destroy the country, since their military campaign failed to impose the Saudi will on the Yemeni people. So they brutally resort to inflict unbearable kind of suffering and destruction, blockades, Zionist-style blockades, targeting schools, infrastructures, weddings, as we see in hospitals, markets, wiping out villages. All of that kind of, even targeted assassinations as the Zionist entity used to and still execute in the Gaza and the West Bank, and do that in the south of Lebanon. All of these Zionist designed scenarios of kind of collective punishment the Saudis inflict on the Yemeni people to try then using the people to pressurize the Yemeni army and the revolutionary Houthi communities as well to surrender or to accept a compromise, a face-saving compromise with the Saudis. This is what the strategy the Saudis using the population suffering to guarantee and secure a military defeat in Yemen.
And if you were to take a look at the fact that the U.S. is still supporting the Saudi aggression against Yemen, how do you see that role playing out for the U.S.? Because it doesn't make too much progress on the U.S. being engaged behind Saudi Arabia in terms of watching out for U.S.'s interests, or does it?
It's a very good question, since the Americans came in the beginning of this and they declared they supported the Saudis in logistic means, and they resupply them with ammunition as well intelligence. They provide them with the satellite surveillance of Yemen and movement of any troops, and the same information which the Saudis, the Americans and the Zionist entity supply for the Saudis actually as well filters down in the hands of ISIL and Al-Qaeda, since any places the Saudis and the Emirati army occupies then be filled with the forces of Al-Qaeda in Yemen. We can look at Hadramaut and look at Aden and look at other parts, even in Ma'rib as well. They're trying to do the same. So the United States of America, with this kind of policy, helping the proxies groups in Yemen, which is the Saudis mushrooming all over there to fill the vacuum, the Takfiri group. So I wonder how the Americans can declare on one hand they are fighting terror, and the other hand, intentionally or unintentionally, they are helping and facilitating the growth of Al-Qaeda in Yemen. This is very evident. Another point I want to say myself in here, which is, I believe it's important. Aden didn't fail. Aden was handed over to the Yemeni forces. What kind of deal will some of Saleh military groups in Aden have maybe to secure Saleh's interest with the Emiratis, financial interest with the Emiratis as well, or to secure his funds in Emirates in there? I don't know. The other thing, I always mention that for the Emiratis especially, Aden considered to be a threat to them, a threat to the prosperity of Abu Dhabi and Dubai. They don't want to see this city independent and sovereign again, and come back to its previous history. It used to be one of the top 5 ports in the world. They don't want that to be taken away from them by an independent city in Yemen. This is very devious rule for the United Arab Emirates in there.
Thank you very much for that. We appreciate it. That's Saab Shah, Middle East author and expert talking to us there. And that does it for a look at the top 5 headlines. Thanks for tuning in.